Welcome back to the Department of Context. Oh, hey, I was just taking a break from responding to some messages and got sucked into social media. Let me tell you, that was a mistake. Did you ever notice how everyone seems to have the perfect life online? You know what I mean? Someone's always hitting the gym, traveling the world, posting motivational quotes, and generally living their best life. Yeah, well, we all know that's just half the story, right? Social media is great at showing us the highlights, but not necessarily the reality. Well, believe it or not, this isn't a new phenomenon. It goes way back, like 14th century back. In fact, many of the characters in the Canterbury Tales are like our social media influencers today, always trying to make their lives seem perfect to those around them, through the way they dressed and talked to the tales they told. These travelers used the social media of their day to influence what others thought about them. They might not have had Instagram, but they were telling the same kind of stories. One of these characters is the knight, who best represents the noble class and the feudal system of medieval England. Our mission today is to analyze how Chaucer uses satire to critique this feudal system. We'll consider whether Chaucer's portrayal of the knight in this story is sincere or something else is going on. Grab your lesson materials and let's dig in. In the Canterbury Tales, a group of colorful characters are on a road trip to Canterbury. They decide to have a storytelling contest to pass the time. Through their stories, Chaucer gives us a peek into his thoughts on feudalism, which is a very hierarchical structure in which land, money, and power were controlled by the noble class. The king granted land to lords, who relied on knights to fight for them. At the bottom, serfs worked the land in exchange for protection. But by Chaucer's day, things were beginning to change. Merchants, craftsmen, and traders were making money and gaining influence as towns and cities began to grow, shifting power away from the traditional feudal lords. This growing middle class was changing the game and challenging the old social order. So it's significant that the knight, the one member of the party who's near the top of this old social order, tells his tale first. This is an intentional choice by Chaucer. Why do you think he chose to have the knight, a representative of the noble class, lead off the storytelling? Pause the video here to record your thoughts. By starting with the knight, the most noble character, we can expect the start of this contest to be classy. But this may just provide Chaucer with some humorous opportunities to bring in satire and critique. For the knight, the chivalric code was at the heart of everything in his life. Chivalry wasn't just about fighting or rescuing damsels in distress, it was an entire code of behavior that knights were expected to live by. Think of it like a knight's rulebook, with rules like defending the church, protecting the innocent, and always being truthful. If chivalry was meant to define a knight's public and military duties, the concept of courtly love concerned a knight's emotional and personal life. Courtly love often involved the knight serving a lady with unwavering devotion. Knights were expected to prove their worth to their lady through heroic deeds and virtuous behavior. In his tale, the first in this little friendly competition between the travelers, the knight decides to tell a story about two young knights, Palamon and Archita. Let's see how they navigate these codes of chivalry and courtly love. As the story begins, Palamon and Archita are captured in battle and thrown into prison. While there, they both spot the same woman, the beautiful Emily, from their prison window and fall hopelessly in love with her. Now, here's the twist. They're best friends, but their feelings for Emily quickly turn them into rivals. Time goes by, and Arquita is released from prison, but on one condition. He can never return to Athens. Eventually, Palamon manages to escape from prison. As fate would have it, the two knights run into each other, both ready to fight and die for the woman they love. Things are about to get messy. Let's jump into the text and see what happens next. As we read, be on the lookout for moments of exaggeration or irony in the text. As we all know, this is a clear sign that Chaucer has some satire up his sleeve. This Palamon, who thought that through his heart he felt a cold and sudden sword blade glide, for rage he shook, no longer would he hide. But after he had heard Arquita's tale, as he were mad, with face gone deathly pale, he started up and sprang out of the thicket, crying, Arquita, O you traitor wicked, either you shall die, or else forego your love for Emily. What examples of exaggeration can you find? Pause the video here to record your thoughts. Hopefully, you noticed several moments where Palamon is so dramatic that he appears ridiculous. He compares his lovesickness for Emily to a sword through his heart, and he looks mad with face gone deathly pale. And all this, remember, for someone he's never even met. He ends by telling Arquita, his best friend, that he will kill him unless Arquita disavows his love for Emily. This all seems pretty intense and over the top. Let's see how Arquita responds. Hopefully, he'll be the more sensible of the two. Just in case, though, continue to be on the lookout for moments of exaggeration or irony. Hear now this word, tomorrow I'll not fail to come here armed and harnessed as a knight, and to bring arms for you too, as you'll see, and choose the better, and leave the worse for me. And meat and drink this very night I'll bring, enough for you, and clothes for your bedding. What exaggerations or irony do you notice? Pause the video here to record your thoughts. Okay, so the first half of Arquita's reply seems pretty normal for someone whose best friend has just threatened his life. He plans to show up for this fight armed. But then things get weird. Arquita says he's going to bring Palamon weapons for their fight, and he's going to let Palamon choose the best, and he's going to bring him dinner? And what's this? Pajamas? What kind of rivalry is this? It's like, hey, I'm going to fight you to the death, but first, let me make sure you've got a cozy night's sleep and a snack. So what is Chaucer doing here? He isn't just trying to make these knights look as foolish as possible. How is he using satire to comment on the codes of chivalry the knights were sworn to follow? Pause the video to write down your thoughts. Chaucer uses exaggeration to satirize the extreme ideals of chivalry by showing how Arquita and Palamon follow the knightly code to absurd levels, like bringing food and bedding before a death duel, while ignoring obvious elements of the code, such as their loyalty to each other in order to pursue their idea of courtly love. Chaucer is subtly poking fun at how unrealistic and impractical these codes of honor can be, and that maybe the high-class nobles weren't so classy after all. So, who told the best story and won the prize, you ask? Well, that remains one of the greatest mysteries of British literature. Unfortunately, Chaucer died before he was able to complete his magnum opus, leaving us with only 24 of the promised 120 tales, and no clear winner. That's kind of cool though. If you think about it, it means you can decide for yourself who the winner is. Now that you've got a handle on Chaucer's use of satire, I encourage you to read more of the stories from the Canterbury Tales, and be sure to check your lesson materials to read more of the Knight's Tale and find out what happens between Palamon and Arquida. With the Canterbury Tales, Chaucer holds up a lens to medieval society, revealing the realities of medieval life as he saw them. What do you see when you hold up a lens to your society today?
Hey!